in terms of Ukraine, why is this whole situation happening in the first place? I know people like to say that Putin is some maniac who just woke up one day on the wrong side of bed and decided to invade a country for no reason. Again, you don't have to agree with it, but if in geopolitical terms, in the study of geopolitics, Russia is a power. This is a fact. And Ukraine is of strategic importance to Russia. And so when you have an adversarial alliance in your backyard, Russia is reacting the way the US reacted during the Cold War and the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is to be expected. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it or like it, but we can't joke around here and act like it's, Putin has some personality issues. This is a geopolitical issue, and it's Russia. And so when we talk about Ukraine becoming a member of NATO, which is what NATO said in Bucharest in 2008, they said Ukraine and Georgia, they accept them as NATO members. They're not, of course, but NATO indicated openly that it is willing to incorporate them. Again, red line for Russia. And what is happening right now, what Putin is basically doing, what Russia is doing as a country, is drawing a line in the sand and saying, you are going too far. We will not have Ukraine in NATO. So in one way, you could argue that NATO is unable to expand anymore. It's gone too far. And now there are negative effects and consequences because of that. And so that just goes to say that you can argue it both ways. I want to show you very quickly this the 2008 Bucharest summit, NATO summit. NATO welcomes Ukraine's and Georgia's Euro-Atlantic aspirations for membership in NATO. We agree today that these countries will become members of NATO. Both nations have made valuable contributions to alliance operations. We welcome the democratic reforms in Ukraine and Georgia and look forward to free and fair parliamentary elections in Georgia in May. So you see that NATO was very clear. Like, yeah, we have a goal in mind. That's to get Ukraine in this military alliance. And they didn't mince words. So, you could argue that they've reached their limit. They're just unable to do it anymore. They've already surrounded Russia with, 5 NATO countries. They've expanded to 14. Since the fall of the Soviet Union, 14 countries have joined NATO, which, again, to me is a mystery. I mean, it's not a mystery. I'm just speaking figuratively, but we all know why. But if the whole point of the military alliance of NATO was to counter the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore, well, why are you expanding it? They say NATO is a defensive posture. It's a defensive alliance by definition. It's only defensive. Again, the Soviet Union doesn't exist. What the hell were you doing in Libya? You ransacked that country. You obliterated it. You took the wealthiest country in Africa, in the entire continent, and set it back 50 years. You destroyed it. How is that defensive? How did Libya threaten NATO? This is preposterous. I'm not having this. And then the same thing in Syria. They make up this chemical weapons attack to justify bombing Syria. NATO is an offensive organization. It's an offensive alliance. You cannot make the case for it being defensive now when there's no Soviet Union, when you look at what they've done in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, in Libya, and on and on and on. How long are you going to keep this game on for? Like, how are you going to keep this? How long will you keep this this facade up? This is ridiculous. Again, you don't have to agree with the Russians. You don't have to like the Russians. If you're serious about talking politics, if you are serious, you're a rational adult and you are serious about geopolitics, you understand perfectly what's going on.